3 sinister true horror stories revealed. Unexplained encounters with the cursed and haunted Emma was already on high alert when she heard the scratching sound persistently clawing at the window. It echoed like nails on chalkboard, sending chills up her spine. She managed to finish her shift at the hospital, but as she walked down the familiar suburban streets of Maplewood with its manicured lawns, the looming shadows of the Smith house haunted her thoughts. All those warm neighborly smiles felt like masks, hiding secrets from a community that looked idyllic but felt sinister. Flickering lights, unseen eyes watching her, and the echo of laughter from that dreadful abandoned property made the hairs on the back of her neck stand tall. Every night after putting her 2 children to bed, Emma felt the creeping tension, especially when the sun set and darkness engulfed Maplewood. The kids had started complaining about sounds, shadows, and whispers. Emma brushed it off as the overactive imaginations of her little ones. But when she awoke one night to find her nursery lamp flickering dangerously, and the chills settled to her core, she realized her denial may have been far too tempting. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The laughter drifted again through the stillness, almost joyous but twisted, echoing from the Smith house. Emma's breath quickened. What were those kids doing there? Reality shifted as images of past stories about the Smith family filled her mind like a storm. A child lost, disappearances, horrific flyers still lingering at the local grocery store. Each time her heart raced, flooding her with dread. She caught brief glimpses of her neighbors' lavish smiles turning into blank stares when she mentioned the Smiths. Mike, her best friend and a local cop, brushed off her concerns as mere paranoia. But Emma was convinced something was wrong. The deeper she dug into Maplewood's past, the more the pillow of safety turned to sand. Running through her fingers, that September night, it happened. The wind howled, and thunder rolled ominously as her children screamed for her. "Mommy! Help!" The frantic sound carved through her like a knife. When she burst into their room, the window swung wide open, yet no one stirred outside. A chill filled the air, as though something was there, waiting. Her heart raced. She shined the flashlight into the night, the beam cutting through darkness until it landed on the Smith house. Shadows twisted inside, forms dancing eerily. Sinking dread told her this was just the beginning. As she stood frozen at her children's door, she felt the weight of unspoken fears from her neighbors closing in. Each whisper, each glance packed with fear, lined her spine with ice. With a soft rustle, a fresh breeze swept in, making her pause. She turned. There again was that laughter. This time, it beckoned her. Come play with us. What had she uncovered? And was it too late to look away? Emma's heart pounded, a relentless drum, and the shadows outside danced to a rhythm only they could hear. Emma's heart raced, pumping cold fear through her veins. The laughter twisted around her like a vine, squeezing her resolve. She felt small, cornered in her home where all should have been safe. The heavy silence pressed down, thick like fog. "Mommy!" Her children called again, their voices trembling with terror. Desperate, she turned back to them. "I'm coming," she shouted, her own voice sounding foreign and weak in the shadows. But she had to reach them. She had to protect them. The house creaked as she stepped cautiously into the nursery, her flashlight dancing on the walls like a panicked spirit. All seemed to be in place, the stuffed animals perched neatly on the shelves, the quilt draped over the crib. But then her beam settled on something unsettling. The closet door stood slightly ajar. "Emma, are you there?" A voice echoed from outside the room. Mike. Her heart dropped as panic clawed up her throat. She opened her mouth to call back, to tell him she needed help, but the weight of the laughter hung in the air, muting her words. She moved toward the closet, the darkness oozing out like a thick, malevolent mist. "Come play with us." The laughter repeated, this time sharper, inviting, cruel. The shadows coiled tighter around her, and she felt a pull, like an invisible hand reaching from the gloom, demanding she step closer. "No," she gasped, shaking her head, trying to clear the fog of despair. She ripped the closet door open and froze. Empty. Just an empty space nestled behind a set of clothes. But then she noticed something peculiar. A large, jagged crack ran along the floor near the closet. Had it always been there? "Mommy!" The urgency in her children's voices pierced the veil of her fear. She spun back, forcing herself to focus. They needed her now. She could not get caught in the web of madness that beckoned. She had to take a stand. "Stay here," she commanded, rushing towards the bedroom door, heart thudding in her ears. She threw it open and was met by Mike, eyes wide in disbelief. "Emma, what's happening? Did you hear it?" she blurted. The laughter, and something in the closet just then. A low rumble echoed through the house, shaking the floor beneath them. With each tremor came that laughter, now uproarious as if celebrating the horror unfolding. Mike's face turned pale, recognition dawning, but before he could say anything, the lights flickered violently, plunging them all into darkness. "Don't move," he shouted, gripping the doorframe, trying to shield Emma and the kids from whatever lurked. But in the darkness, the laughter was joined by another sound, one that froze Emma in place. A soft scratching came from the corner of the room, almost familiar. "Mommy," her daughter's tiny voice whimpered. "It's not just outside. It's inside too." Emma glanced to the shadowy corner, where shapes flitted in the dark. The scratching continued, now melding with the laughter. A dreadful duet that sent waves of icy panic through her. "Get back," she shouted, pushing the kids behind her. Her flashlight flickered back on, illuminating the space as terror gripped her heart. Just as the beam stabilized, she caught sight of something lurking close. Two figures, pale and shimmering, with hollow eyes that seemed to swallow the light around them. "Come play with us," they echoed, their voices intertwined with the laughter, both sweet and sinister. Emma turned, grabbing Mike's arm with a frenzied grip. "We have to go. Now." But before they could move, the shadows engulfed the room, snuffing out light and hope. What horror had she stumbled into? Would they ever escape the hold of this nightmare? Or would Maplewood claim her family as yet another twisted tale? And just then, as darkness consumed them, she felt a cold whisper against her ear, "We're waiting." The darkness enveloped them, an unyielding tide that seemed to pulse with a life of its own. Emma clutched Mike's arm tighter, her breath hitching as the whisper echoed in her mind. "We're waiting." Fumbling, she tried to move, but her legs felt rooted to the ground. The shadows slithered closer, an invisible fog creeping around their ankles, pulling them into a chilling embrace. She could barely hear her children, their small whimpers blending into the madness, a haunting chorus of despair that tugged at her very core. "Mike," she whispered fiercely, straining to maintain her focus. "We have to get to the kids." But her voice wavered, weakened by fear surging through her like an electric shock. At that moment, a loud crash shattered the silence, reverberating through the house like a thunderclap. The sound came from the living room, heavy and foreboding. Emma's heart raced, a drum of panic in her chest. "What was that?" she gasped, her mind racing with visions of lurking terror. "I don't know," Mike replied, his voice a tense whisper, barely audible over the cacophony of laughter that rang around them, echoing off the walls. "We need to stay together." The laughter twisted, warping into mocking giggles as they pressed deeper into the shadows, engulfing the home's familiar confines. With no light to guide them, they stumbled through the darkness. Each step felt uncertain, as if the floor might give way beneath them. "Mommy, I'm scared." Emma's breath caught as she heard her son's voice, shaky and small. The sound came from the nursery, and she felt an irresistible pull towards it, a tether to whatever warmth still remained. "Stay right there," she shouted, her voice trembling, struggling against the encroaching gloom. She felt Mike close behind her, but in the engulfing dark, they could barely see one another. They hurried back toward the nursery, the laughter echoing eerily in his ears. Just as they reached the door, that cold, malevolent laughter transformed into a howling wind, rushing past them like an icy breath. The door creaked open on its own, revealing a space alive with shadows, flickering just outside the range of their vision. A sudden chill filled the air, bringing with it the stench of mildew and something else decay. Emma's stomach twisted, a knot of dread tightening as she pressed her body against the cold wood of the door frame. "Children," she called into the abyss, her voice trembling, forcing disbelief from her mind. Silence stretched painfully long, empty and suffocating. Then out of the shadows, a small figure stepped forth, her daughter's face barely discernible, illuminated by the feeble flicker of the flashlight. "Mommy, please help." Emma lunged forward. Friend, protector, desperately snatching her child in a tight embrace. But as soon as she held her, a chill shot through her. Deeper than fear, it felt wrong, unnatural. The child's hug was too stiff, too still, and when Emma pulled back to look into her daughter's face, she recoiled in horror at the look in her eyes. "Come play with us," the girl echoed. Only it wasn't her voice. Not really. The flashlight flickered again, revealing the other figure standing just behind her daughter, the other child. The same empty gaze, emotionless, unyielding. Emma froze, the room swirling as the laughter crescendoed, voices intertwining in a deranged symphony that threatened to shatter her mind. "Emma, let them come," Mike urged, his tone suddenly eerie, joining the shadows in their twisted melody. "Stay back." She staggered backwards, eyeing Mike with horror. But it was too late. Laughter filled the room, wrapping around them like chains. Emma's eyes darted to the closet again, that jagged crack pulsing with darkness. A sinister invitation to join their game. Then, the door slammed shut. The world outside ceased to exist. Darkness snuffed out light entirely. Could hope survive in this nightmare? And then a voice whispered, nearer than before. A soft caress against Emma's ear. Join us forever. What had she unleashed? The air grew stale as Emma clung to her children, fear coiling tightly in her chest. The darkness pressed against them, as if it were a living thing, hungry for their fear, hungry for their very souls. The whispered invitation hung in the air like a death sentence, and her instincts screamed at her to flee. But where could they go? "Mommy!" her daughter cried, the sound sharper this time, tinged with something unearthly. It twisted Emma's stomach, as though her child's voice had been lifted and distorted by the dark. "Please stay." "No. We need to leave." Emma fought to wrench herself from the clutches of dread. But as she turned to run, Micah's hand shot out, snagging her wrist. "Emma, listen." His eyes shined with a feverish glaze, reflecting both terror and a twisted eagerness. "They want us to stop." Emma jerked her arm free, bolting into the nursery. The shadows frothed and lunged after her, creep after creeping shadow, and the door slammed shut behind her as she pushed through. "Mama!" Her son's voice broke through the veil of sinister laughter. The shadows in the room flickered, warping the walls like a funhouse mirror. Emma spun towards them, heart pounding, lungs tight. She had to protect them. Overhead, the nursery light flickered weakly, casting a ghostly glow. The faint illumination showcased her children's faces, pale, wide-eyed, reflecting the same growing horror she felt. Flashes of childhood innocence were torn away by the shadows that swirled around them. "Mommy, I don't like it here." Her son trembled, hands clenching around a worn stuffed bunny, light glistening off its stained fabric, as if it had absorbed fear from countless nights. Emma's heart sank, a deep chill flooding through her. "We'll get through this," she promised, though her voice quaked under the weight of the enveloping dread. "Let them come to us." Micah's voice slithered through the nursery, layered with a dissonant timbre. He appeared at the door, a silhouette absorbed by shadow, betraying the familiar warmth she once yearned for. "No, Mike, you're wrong." She stepped forward, but the tainted melody of laughter escalated, filling the space, rising above her fearful heartbeats. "Mama!" her daughter screamed, pointing to the closet. The crack pulsated with dark energy, a blackened void beckoning them in. The pull was nearly magnetic. Emma's heart raced, an involuntary urge to remain with her children. Yet her instinct told her stay away from the dark. The closet's inky fingers beckoned, promising secrets that no one should uncover. "No, we have to fight it," she cried, clutching her children to her side, willing them away from the sinister call. But shadowy forms began to weave within the darkness, distorting and transforming, grotesque shapes with blended faces of lost children. "Join us forever," they echoed, a chorus of despair that sent icy shivers racing through Emma's spine. Underneath the laughter, something flickered, a glint of memories, of warm afternoons and family dinners, shattered now by this diabolical reality. Hanley's, their favorite, was gone. The sound of unity drowned in a chilling cacophony. "Mike, please," she begged, looking through the swirling shadows. "Fight it." His features softened momentarily, confusion flickering behind his eyes. It was enough. Emma turned toward the closet, heart pounding as a choice crystallized in her mind, hiding from the darkness or confronting it. She took a step forward, but the room shook, and the shadows erupted, spilling out, consuming everything like molten ink, threatening to swallow them all whole. "Mama!" they cried, the unity of their voices stripped down to sheer terror. The door burst open, shadows lunging at her, twisting in every direction as Emma braced herself, instincts kicking in. "Hold on!" she screamed, and they plunged toward the door, but the laughter swallowed her words as they were sucked back into the dark. Suddenly, silence fell like a shroud. Then a voice, her voice but cloaked in dread, whispered from the shadows. A soft enticement. "Join us!" Emma's scream ricocheted in darkness, reverberating into that void. What awaited them in that daunting abyss? Emma felt her heart race as silence enveloped them, thick and unsettling, like a heavy fog over a desolate land. Shadows loomed at the edge of her vision, pulsating with a hunger that tied her stomach in knots. The quiet was suffocating, waiting, and every second felt like a countdown to something terrible. She could feel Mike's presence still, a dark shape in the nursery's oppressive atmosphere. "Mommy?" Her son's whisper was barely audible, filled with dread that mirrored her own. She turned to him, fighting to keep the fear from her face. "Where did they go?" "The shadows," Emma breathed, the words slipping hesitantly past her lips. She gripped her children tighter, the warmth of their small bodies offering a fleeting comfort. Light flickered, struggling against the clutches of the darkness around them. In those brief flashes, Emma saw twisted faces forming, wailing mouths that opened in silent screams. Her son's bunny slipped from his grasp, hitting the floor with a soft thud, lost to the gathering gloom. "No, no, no. We have to get out," Emma urged. The panic clawed at her throat. "We can't stay here." They moved toward the door, but an invisible force held them back, each step heavier than the last, as if the shadows themselves clung to them, eager to pull them into the abyss. Mike's silhouette shifted, mouth moving as if uttering words she couldn't hear. "Fighting it is the wrong choice, Emma," he finally said, his voice lower and darker, as if coated in the shadows that surrounded him. "No," she shouted, desperation cracking in her voice. "You don't understand. This can't be right." But he wasn't Mike anymore. Something was twisting him, reshaping him into something sinister. Her heart sank as she took stock of his expression, devoid of reason, eyes consumed by longing for the very darkness that threatened to swallow them. "Mommy!" Her daughter wailed again, pulling at her arm. "I want to go home." Emma's heart shattered at the sound. Home was a mere distant memory, replaced now by the oppressive shadow of this nightmare. She pushed the horror down deep, summoning whatever remained of her strength. "Hold on to me," she screamed. "Keep your eyes on me." They turned, desperation fueling their escape. Emma realized the closet door lay ajar, a swirling darkness pouring through the gap like black mist. Promised answers but held sinister secrets. Outside, the world felt unreachable, a world of daylight lost in the clutches of nightmarish terror. But the pull was undeniable. As if sensing her fear, the voices returned, sweet and taunting. "Join us, why resist?" Emma shook her head violently. "No, stay close to me." Terrified breaths echoed as the shadows grasped at her children. A wave of darkness surged, and they were pushed backward, the room itself fighting against their retreat. "Embrace it," Mike's voice cut through, now sharp and commanding. The shadows twisted around him, inviting him deeper. Her stomach twisted at his cruelty. As realization struck like lightning, he wouldn't fight. "Mike!" she cried, feeling the ground beneath her feet tremble. "You're losing yourself." But it was too late. The shadows coiled tighter, snatching at Mike as he stepped further into their embrace. His body contorted, his expression a blend of ecstasy and horror as he disappeared into the darkness. A mere echo of who he once was. Emma's chest tightened, panic blossoming anew. The shadows loomed larger, swirling with furious intensity, drawing closer with each passing moment. She grasped each of her children by the hand, shaking, fear racing through her veins. The laughter rose again, a wild orchestra of despair, reverberating through the very walls. Join us, Eno," Emma howled, summoning every ounce of courage. She turned and lunged for the door, dragging her children with her as the oppressive weight of the dark threatened to pull them apart. With one final push, a defiant scream like a bolt of lightning cracking the sky, she flung the nursery door wide open. But what awaited them on the other side sent a chill spiraling through her bones. The hallway was swallowed in shadow, deeper and thicker than the nursery's hell. And then a soft, dreadful voice whispered just behind them. "You cannot escape, you belong to us now." But Emma was filled with a blaze of determination. "Run," she ordered desperately, feeling the shadows claw at her heels like a predator stalking its prey, ready to claim what was theirs. With that command, they sprinted into the void, unaware of the path that lay ahead. Emma's heart raced not just with fear, but with the desperate hope that somewhere, somehow, they would find a way back to the light. What horrors awaited them in the craw of darkness? They dashed into the hallway, footsteps pounding against the wooden floor, the dark swallowing any trace of light. Each turn they took felt like a gamble, a twisted game where every shadow breathed danger. Emma could sense the malevolence lurking just beyond, whispering secrets filled with frost and despair. "Mommy, I can't see." Her daughter's voice trembled, thick with fear. Emma instinctively tightened her grip, her heart racing faster than their feet could carry them. "Keep going," she urged, forcing courage into her words. "Just hold on to me." But the darkness wasn't just behind them. It was around them, crawling along the walls, creeping into every crack and crevice. The air grew colder and thicker, wrapping around them like tendrils of despair. Emma could hear the faint whispers rising and falling, enticing her children to abandon hope. "Let us take you, join us." Fury bloomed within her. They wouldn't take her kids. Not now. Not ever. "Faster," Emma shouted, the command echoing off the walls. The children surged ahead, but the shadows flinched, morphing into barriers that pulsed and writhed, challenging their escape. The walls seemed to close in around them, burgeoning with slithering darkness that slithered down the length of the corridor. What once felt like a familiar home now felt alien and hostile, a maze where the shadows had supremacy. She felt the tang of desperation as they turned again, their breaths turning ragged. "Where do we go, Mommy?" her son whimpered, his small voice breaking her resolve. "I don't know," she shouted back, panic threading through her veins. I just don't know." They stumbled into an alcove, a small room filled with old, dusty furniture covered in ghostly sheets. It felt like a hideout, a sanctuary at first glance, but the sense of protection was fleeting. Emma pressed her back against the door, heart hammering, hoping the shadows would miss them in their search. But her relief was short-lived. A deep, guttural laughter bubbled up from the floorboards, reverberating through the room like thunder. Shadows rippled along the walls, forming unnatural shapes, twisting limbs, grinning faces dripping with malice. "Did you really think you could hide?" The voice slithered up from the floor, cold and smooth, sent shivers racing down her spine. "You belong to us, and we will find you." Her children clutched her tightly, breathing in sync with the rising tide of horror. "Stay still," Emma whispered, her mind racing. They couldn't stay here. She needed to keep them moving, to escape whatever wickedness lay just outside. "Mommy, I'm scared." Her son quivered, eyes wide and glistening in the dim light. Emma forced a smile, holding the trembling children closer. "I know, sweetheart, but we can't let them win. We're strong. We'll get out of here together." With no further moment to waste, she led them through the back of the alcove, past the shrouded furniture. The shadows lurked beyond the door, gnashing and eager for more. But then, a flicker, a brief glimpsing of light spilling in from the windows ahead. Hope sparked. "There." She pointed, feeling adrenaline kick in. "That must be a way out." They moved cautiously, but suddenly, the floor beneath them lurched. Emma stumbled, dragging her children down with her. The laughter intensified, echoing like an unholy choir. "Do you feel it?" The voice crept closer. "Everything you've ever known is ours now." She pushed her children back toward the light, a surge of strength overtaking her. "Get up. Don't stop." But shadows flared in the doorway, growing denser, swallowing the light. The screams of her children blended with the shadows' sudden terror that racked through her. Emma barely caught a glimpse of their eyes, wide with dread. Then, all at once the light vanished, replaced by an unending dark. Emma's breath hitched. In the suffocating embrace of shadows, she screamed, "Let us go!" But in that moment of despair, a smirk formed in the blackness, and the response echoed back, chilling her to the bone. "You're not the first, and you won't be the last." The shadows began to swell. Emma fought back tears, trying to catch her children's hands, but they slipped through her grasp, pulled away like threads of a fraying tapestry. Desperation surged anew as she realized this wasn't just darkness. It was alive, and it hungered for them. Just as the shadows began to close in, she felt a strange pull. What if the light held something more than just escape? What if it was the key to fighting back? Emma hesitated, heart racing. "We need to go back," but the choice was almost made for her. And as the shadows loomed, whispering promises of despair, the grip she had on her children slipped entirely. What if the very thing they needed was already inside the void? Emma's heart raced as the darkness cocooned her, whispering sweet promises laced with poison. She clawed at the air, reaching for her children, but all she could grasp was despair. The echoes of their terrified cries became a haunting melody wrapped in her mind. Each whisper, a reminder of her failure. "Fight it," she shouted, hoping her words could pierce through the swirling black that engulfed them. "We are stronger than this." The walls pulsed as if mocking her defiance. The deep laughter of the unseen horror filled the space, vibrating through her bones. "Stronger?" it hissed. "You are lost, and everything you cherish is but a meal for the shadows." Suddenly, a flicker of light ignited in the suffocating dark, a wisp of hope that cut like glass. Emma squinted against the oncoming shadows that twisted and roiled, seeking any way to extinguish this fragile glimmer. "Hold my hand," she urged, praying her children could hear her over the cacophony of terror. "Mommy," her daughter whimpered, a tiny voice wavering as another wave of shadows crashed against them, threatening to drown them in fear. "What do we do?" her son asked, tears streaming down his cheeks like molten glass. Emma's breath was sharp. "We find the light. We have to reach it." She could see it now, a door beyond the engulfing darkness, real and solid against the chaos. But the shadows weren't ready to let them leave. They writhed forward, taking the shape of reaching hands, clawing the air, eager to snatch them back into oblivion. "Run!" Emma yelled, positioning herself between her children and the oncoming terror. She felt the heat of the dark as it hissed against her, feeling the sorrow and rage of a million lost souls. But she couldn't falter. With every ounce of strength, she urged her children on, shoving them toward the light. "I've got you. Just a little closer." The shadows pulled at her, wrapping around her arms and legs like serpents, tightening their grasp. Emma fought against their cold grip with every ounce of willpower. She couldn't let them break her spirit. She wouldn't. In a moment of desperate clarity, she remembered the legends told of the old house, the stories whispered just under the surface of countless family gatherings. It wasn't just a curse. It was a hunger and need for souls that could be spirited away. With renewed determination, she channeled that rage into fury. "You want us?" she cried, voice echoing defiantly into the void. "You'll have to fight for it." The darkness recoiled, as if momentarily taken aback. Emma seized the opportunity, pulling her children toward the door. "Keep moving. We can make it." Every step felt like wading through quicksand, but the flickering light grew more intense. Each inch felt like 1,000 pounds of pressure, but giving up was not an option. She felt the heat of her children's hands slip from her grasp again, but she yanked them back, holding tight to the warmth of their small fingers. But as they approached the door, it began to warp and twist, shifting like a mirage. Light pulsed, beckoning yet terrifying, transforming into a swirling vortex that loomed like a shadowy mouth, ready to swallow them whole. "Trust me," Emma shouted, her heart racing. "We can break through." Yet, just as they reached the threshold, the shadows surged harder, thrumming at the very fabric of their being. A bone-chilling whisper grazed her ear. "You cannot leave this place. You are part of us now." Emma hesitated, the sheer weight of the words pressing down on her soul. The doorway flickered ominously, teasing escape one moment, chaining her to perpetual despair the next. She felt the shadows creep closer, wrapping around her kids. The air thickened, suffocating her resolve. With her body on the brink of collapse, Emma felt trapped in a nightmare without an end. Was there truly a way out? The light was right there, yet it was engulfed in the shadow-esque grasp, and in those final moments, Emma glimpsed something odd in the corner of her eye, a forgotten emblem on the wall, shimmering with an ancient light. Could it be a way to fight back? Could it turn the tide against the dark? With her heart pounding, she dove for the symbol, pulling her children behind her. But as she reached for it, the laughter crescendoed once again, threatening to drag them all into an abyss of darkness. What lay beyond those swirling shadows? Time twisted as she prepared to face the inevitable. The moment Emma grasped the emblem, a surge of warmth flooded her body, washing over her like sunlight piercing through storm clouds. The comforting glow contrasted sharply with the icy fingers of darkness clawing at her sides. She turned, the symbol blazing bright, illuminating the cavernous space around them. "Hold on tight," she urged, tugging her children to her side. The shadows recoiled, hissing as the light expanded, pushing against the encroaching dread. With every breath, Emma felt the emblem's power course through her, steeping her in a newfound courage. "Let us go." She pressed forward, using the light not only to guide them but to keep the shadows at bay. They moved, stumbling towards the threshold where reality warped and twisted. The darkness howled, furious at being challenged. But as they drew closer, the light began to flutter, flickering like a dying flame. Emma's heart sank. Was it losing strength? She shot a desperate glance behind her. The shadows writhed, their frenzy intensifying. They looked almost sentient, eager, like ravenous beasts hungering for their prey. "Mommy, I can't see," her son cried, his small voice trembling as he tugged at her hand. Emma squeezed his grip tighter. "Just a little more. Don't let go." A venomous whisper curled around her, grazing her ear like ice. "You think that trinket can save you?" It enveloped her, curling into her thoughts. "You've always known you were destined to be a part of this. Just give in." She shook her head violently, fighting against the despair that threatened to drown her. The emblem pulsed in her fist, reminding her of her children's faces, their innocence wrapped in terror. She pressed on, every step a battle against the weight of the darkness. The swirling vortex seemed to mock her effort, drawing them in. She could feel the very essence of the shadows swarming about, hungry and bitter. The symbol flickered again, a dying ember refusing to go out. With each breath, Emma could sense the thin line between life and annihilation. Then she remembered the stories. It wasn't just a curse. It was a pact. Maybe there was a way to break it. The elders in town spoke of a choice, a final offering to sever their bond. If she could harness the light, maybe she could. "Mom!" her daughter cried, interrupting her thoughts. Emma whipped around. The shadows were reaching for her children, dark tendrils wrapping around their ankles, trying to pull them back. "No!" Emma screamed, lunging toward them. The light flared brilliantly, shooting out like a beacon. It illuminated their terrified faces, drawing strength from her resolve. "Stay with me." But the vortex twisted, dark energy pulsing back, rendering the space in a whirlwind of chaos. The emblem stuttered under the pressure, and Emma felt her strength waning. She was teetering on the edge, a sliver away from defeat. In that moment of uncertainty, the darkness whispered sweet promises, weaving shame and regret into her mind. "You didn't protect them. You brought them here. They are lost because of you. I won't let you take them." Emma roared, channeling every ounce of love, every spark of anger into the emblem. "You think you can break us? We are stronger together." The light erupted into a blinding wave, consuming the shadows momentarily. Emma surged forward, her children in tow, but the vortex twisted violently. The doorway pulled back, groaning as if clinging to its last breath. Just as they lunged toward the opening, the shadows seethed, reaching for the brightness. They cried out in rage, their howls vibrating through the air like a storm. "Hold on!" Emma shouted, thrusting the emblem forward as they plunged into the swirling light. But just as they seemed to break free, a malevolent force lashed out, an icy grip snatched at Emma's ankle, pulling her down toward the lingering shadows below. The darkness threatened to drag her into an abyss of despair. An echo of the laughter surrounding them. Would the light be enough? Could she save her children and herself? As her vision began to fade, she heard the anguished cries of her children. Desperate whisper echoed in her mind. "Mommy, don't leave us." Was there a way to break the cycle? Or was she destined to join the eternal darkness? Emma felt the cold grip of despair wrapping around her ankle, dragging her deeper into darkness. Panic surged through her veins like ice water. "Mom!" Her children's cries echoed, sharp and piercing, desperate to pull her back up. With every ounce of strength left in her, Emma clawed at the ground, fighting against the shadows that twisted and writhed around her. The emblem still pulsed with light, but the shine was fading. The beacon that once illuminated their path now struggled, sputtering like the final flickers of a dying candle. "Let go of me," she shouted into the void, the words falling flat against the echoing shadowy laughter that surrounded them. Suddenly, a vision of her children, vibrant and smiling, filled her mind, overriding the darkness. The memories of their laughter, the warmth of their hugs, the joy that surged through her heart made her fight harder than ever. "Stay with me," she choked out, fingers slipping from the slippery, obsidian ground. She felt the emblem warm, a gentle reminder pulsing with her heartbeat. Was it drawing strength from her love? Or was the darkness simply tricking her into submission? Emma couldn't afford to doubt now. The shadows, sensing her turmoil, intensified their tugging. She turned her head, attempting to see her children. "Hold on. Together we can do this." The shadows hissed in response, howling as they pushed themselves to envelop them. "You think you can resist? You will all be one with us. Just give in." The voices were suffocating like a blanket of despair smothering her hope. Emma resisted the urge to despair. They were stronger as a family. Together, they could ignite that emblem once more. She couldn't lose them. "Think, Emma!" She barked at herself, anger boiling as the darkness stung at her courage. What did the elders say? The stories, whispered around warm fires, flooded back. A final offering, a sacrifice to break the curse. What could she give up? Was it worth risking everything? "Mommy!" Her daughter's pleas cut through her thoughts like a knife, and Emma felt her resolve solidify. "Mom, please, don't leave us." The terror in their voices ignited something deep within her. They had to break the cycle. With a deep, earnest breath, Emma unleashed the emblem's light, focusing all of her love into it. "This ends now. I'll give whatever it takes." In that moment, the emblem roared to life, sending waves of golden light cascading outward. The shadows recoiled, shrieking in agony as the brightness pushed against them, forcing them back. Emma's vision sharpened, She could see her children's faces gleaming in the light once more, fear replaced by hope. But it wasn't enough. The shadows screeched, swirling back in renewed anger. They were enraged, and Emma could feel it, a tangible energy ready to crash against her. "We will take what you love," a shadow growled, its voice laced with malice. "No," Emma screamed, her voice defiant. "You will take nothing. I will fight with everything I have." As the darkness lunged forward, she noticed something, a glimmer in the emblem, a spark responding to her fury. "This is our strength." Together, with a fierce shout, she pressed the emblem against the ground. As the light exploded into a radiant vortex, spiraling back against the darkness's assault. But as the shadows turned, an unearthly roar erupted, chilling the air like the sound of thunder, foreboding and furious. Emma felt the ground tremble beneath her. "Now!" she cried out, lacing her fingers tightly through her children's. But as they braced for an escape, a shadow shot like a bolt toward the heart of the light, aiming for the emblem itself. In a single, hair-raising second, everything shuddered. The light flickered ominously as it met the incoming darkness, and Emma shouted with every ounce of her soul, "No!" Then came the blinding flash. The world around them seemed to fracture, fragments of light and shadow blurring into chaos. Emma's heart raced as reality twisted. What if she wasn't strong enough? What if the darkness consumed them? As they hurtled through the shimmering light, she thought she caught a glimpse of something beyond the tempest, a figure waiting, eyes locked onto them, a sinister smile breaking through the chaos. "Mommy!" The cry came from her son, now distant amid the swirling currents. Could they truly escape? Or would the darkness find a way to return? With a deafening roar, the blinding light erupted, enveloping Emma and her children in a cocoon of warmth. The darkness shrieked in frustration, the agonizing cries sharpening as they splintered into shadows, each one retreating like wisps of smoke, unwilling to face the pure radiance. Emma's heart pounded, every beat echoing the fierce determination that pulsed through her veins. "Hold on tight," she shouted, her voice commanding above the chaos. She squeezed her children's hands, feeling the warmth of their tiny forms grounding her in this whirlwind of light. The darkness lashed out in desperation, but it was too late. The light surged, pulling them out of the suffocating void. As they spiraled through the vortex, colors ignited around them, blazing with hues of gold, white, and sapphire, colors she'd only seen in daydreams. Emma closed her eyes, focusing on the feel of her children next to her, a tether to reality amidst the overwhelming brilliance. "We're almost there. Don't let go. Keep fighting." The tumult of emotions flooded through her, fear, hope, love merging into one primal scream in her heart. With a final rush, they were thrust into a different realm entirely. Collapsing onto soft grass, Emma gasped, winded, dazed. She blinked against the brightness filtering through tree branches. They were outside. The air was crisp, filling her lungs with life. She turned, her eyes wide in disbelief. The shadows were gone, vanquished by the light. They had made it back. "Mommy!" Her daughter's voice broke through the haze, filled with both excitement and anxiety. Her son hugged her tightly, wrapping his arms around her waist, the warmth blooming against her, anchoring her once again in the present. "We did it. We're safe," Emma exclaimed, her voice trembling between laughter and tears. They were alive. They were together, free from the horror that had clawed at them moments before. But the victory felt fragile, a whisper in the wind. Then, in the distance, something caught her eye, a familiar figure. Emma's heart plummeted. "Mike," she murmured sharply. He stood at the edge of the park, looking disheveled, eyes searching, as if awakening from a nightmare he couldn't shake. "Emma!" he shouted, running towards them. But there was something different in his gaze. The flicker of light and darkness danced behind his eyes. Emma took a step back instinctively, her breath hitching. As he approached, she noticed the shadow of despair still clung to him, despite his relief. "Is everyone okay?" he asked, but the tremor in his voice echoed shadows she thought long gone. He reached out, yet Emma hesitated, recalling the beauty of the light that had saved her family. "We are fine, Mike. We made it back." The relief in her chest warred with the lingering fear, and she glanced down, meeting her children's trusting gazes. They escaped the grip of darkness. But could Mike do the same? "Mike," she said cautiously, "we need to talk. About what happened." "Nothing matters now but you and the kids," he insisted, stepping closer. Emma felt the shadows creeping back, a longing from the darkness that gripped at her. "No," she said firmly planting her feet into the ground. "This is not finished. You have to fight it, Mike. You have to let the light in." He paused, confusion dancing across his face as he searched her expression. Shadows and light warred in his eyes. "I don't know how," he admitted, his voice cracking. "I thought I could protect you, but I lost myself in there." Emma felt the surge of memories, the love they once shared, all the moments that made them a family, flooding her heart with strength. "It's not too late. You have us, Mike. We're stronger together than we'll ever be apart." She raised the emblem still clutched in her palm towards him, its glow radiant against the backdrop of the broad daylight. "You can come back." A flicker of recognition ignited in his gaze, and Emma could almost see the shadows retreat, fearfully hissing against the encroaching light. "I had to merge with the darkness to keep you safe," he said, pain rippling through his voice. "No." She shook her head, conviction building within her. "You don't have to merge with it. Fight back, and come with us into the light. We are all still here. We can do this together." He hesitated, looking from her to the children, who stood nearby, small hands clutching their mother, expressions steady in their innocence. Emma beckoned, feeling her heart swell with hope as she took a step closer. "Choose us, Mike. Choose the light." His face twisted in struggle, shadows swirling around him like a tempest, but the flicker of determination began to beat against the overwhelming darkness. Emma reached out, her hand outstretched as she called forth the light they carried together, and then, a momentary brilliance illuminated him. The darkness flared, howling as though realizing it might lose its hold. "Emma," he reached for her, the warmth of belonging flooding through the frayed edges of despair. "Let it go, Mike," she shouted, her heart pounding with belief. "Come back to us." There it was, the choice. The moment hung in silence, charged with raw emotion, strung by hope, and as he took that step forward, the shadows shrieked, torn apart by the strength of what they once had together. In one sweeping motion, he broke from the darkness, emerging into the day with renewed clarity. "I'm back," he breathed, relief flooding his features. "I'm really back." Emma rushed toward him as he fell to his knees, drawing her and the children into a fierce embrace. "I'm so sorry, but we're together now. We'll be okay," he said, holding her tightly. Her heart swelled, warm light radiating through as they stood back together under the sun's healing rays. It was not just survival. It was a promise of connection, a fresh start, a family remade. "We're okay. Together," she whispered, breathing in the peace around them and letting it wash over the remnants of despair. For the shadows would always linger in the corners of Maplewood, but they'd always have the light to confront it, a beacon of love prevailing through darkness. As they walked away hand in hand, Emma knew the road ahead wouldn't be simple. Yet every step taken would be a testament to their resilience and strength forged in the battleground of fear. And so, goodbye to those shadows. They faced the horror, emerged scarred yet unbroken, ready to embrace life once more. But this story doesn't end here. Not yet. You need to subscribe now for more exclusive tales. Smash that like button to show you care, and flood the comments with your thoughts and what you think lies ahead for Emma and her family. Don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible conclusion. Your support means everything.